when people start to talk about their hobbies, their interests, the way they maybe reward themselves, their guilty pleasures, or the things they spend money on, they're telling you something important about themselves. What about when we're listening for pleasures? I love this one. Okay. Have you ever maybe seen two adults talking about some hobby that they're into or an event that they're looking forward to, and they're all animated and they almost seem like two kids, right? They could be like 65 years old and they seem like a pair of 10-year-olds in the best possible sense. When I see something like this, it makes me really, really happy. Now, there are important pieces of our identity to be found in the things that we just love or the things we love doing. And here we can be thinking about not necessarily, our biggest values or our most important ideals. No, these are just the everyday things that you look forward to, the things you can't get enough of, the things that bring you energy, excitement, or joy. So try to think back for a minute to how you played as a kid, or the things you couldn't wait for or couldn't get enough of. It's like the adult version of that feeling that we're talking about here. Now, as adults, we'd probably call it kind of like recreation or something. But what you're going to find is that when people start to talk about their hobbies, their interests, the way they maybe reward themselves, their guilty pleasures, or the things they spend money on, they're telling you something important about themselves. So it could be, travel, food, golf. It could be art, sports, grandkids, music, your dogs, whatever, right? And you can take a minute here and think about your own. But the real point is that life has a lot of responsibility and adulting and sacrifice and even suffering. But it also has all of these wonderful pleasures, and thinking about them balances us out, and it's good to savor them and talk about them. And when we talk about them, we're saying to the other person, this is what I'm into. This is what keeps me going. It keeps me energized. It keeps me a little happy, right? Important part of who I am. Now, one thing that I have noticed is that the more responsibility or pressure or sometimes suffering that a person has been engaging with, the more they benefit from this, from talking about their pleasures. So this is something to really think about with your friends and family who might be in a moment of maybe, high pressure or feeling the weight of grown-up life, right? Certainly, I think that if we talk about some of these pressures and listen to them, that's great. But then also see if it helps to probe a little bit more about maybe any places of release or fun or distraction. So here you can say things like, that's a lot of stress. How do you catch your breath a little? Or how do you let down a bit? Are you having any fun? Don't dismiss the important stuff, but just try to include this as well if it seems like it's appropriate. Now, this can even initiate some of those happy hormones. So when you see two people talking about the big game, what they're looking forward to, sharing their excitement about that, that's actually really important. Because talking about all that exciting stuff and anticipating it is boosting oxytocin and all these other feel-good chemicals. And this is what helps us to keep the heavy stuff in perspective and respond more effectively to it, right? You'll notice this when you're under stress, right? Maybe if you take a little time out, you see a movie, you go for a long walk or something like that, you come back and you're refreshed. And whatever that problem was, it's a little bit more manageable. Now, I recently watched a father with his college-age son, and at the time, the son was working and doing an intense degree, one that was challenging for him. But the son was talking about a trip that he was planning. He was really excited about it, talking about the things that he was going to do and see. And the father kept interrupting him. And he kept saying, did you get the application for the internship done? Well, there's a deadline on that. There's a lot of competition for those. All of this stuff kind of that the kid really knew anyways, right? And what you could see happening was the son just started to withdraw a little bit. And the dad didn't even really notice. So really, this guy was hoping to see his joy reflected back, to see his excitement reflected back. So don't underestimate this one. Spend as much time as you can talking about your joys and pay very careful attention to others when they talk about theirs, because they're a meaningful part of our playful self, right? And when people want to talk about them, sometimes it's because life is feeling a little bit heavy and they're trying to take a breath.